morning, one and all. Welcome to 𝐾𝐞 TV's Executive Corner Expert Talks with Sage. And today's guest is Mr. John Gilmovich, the President of the Property Owners Association, New South Wales. And today's guest will share insights on the world of Sydney's boarding houses. There are many developments occurring, gentrifying these establishments and making them a possible property investment opportunity in many of Sydney's suburbs. And as you know, we bring you the industry leaders, successful business owners, market and equity advocates all under the one roof to help you discover the insights of the stock markets and help you understand how you can create multiple passive income streams. So in today's show we bring you live Mr. John Gilmovich, the President of the Property Owners Association, New South Wales. Welcome, John.
Thank you very much for having me.
Wonderful.
My pleasure.
Well, we should definitely get started with today's show. It is observed that boarding houses in Sydney are becoming more gentrified and losing their tired stigma of being halfway houses. What are your thoughts on that, please, John?
Oh, look, this is very true. Traditionally, boarding houses have had that stigma of being halfway, temporary housing for the down and out. That has certainly been changing over the last decade, and that's for sure with this evolvement into what we are calling the new generation housing space, or new generation boarding house space, more appropriately.
Exactly. They can be so convenient for people just starting out or wanting to save a bit of money. So why is property management for rentals so important currently?
Well, property management is a crucial strategy, or very good property management is a crucial strategy for the running and the protection of the asset itself. So this is a crucial piece of the puzzle for a property investor, and especially dwellings like boarding houses where you do have multiple rooming going on and multiple tenancies, and the right management, and of course importantly a lot of the compliance work that comes with running boarding houses is just as crucially important to keep on top of the legislative burden of such an investment.
Exactly. You need that middle person just to help iron out those creases. So is there a likely change expected in boarding houses planning in the New South Wales state?
Yeah, so interestingly, last year what was called an explanation of intended effect paper was issued by the New South Wales government in what they're calling the Diversity Housing SEP. And this instrument is basically bringing in 4 different types of dwelling development planning instruments, if you like, under the one. And there's a myriad of changes coming up in sectors such as the build to rent, co-living, student accommodation, and of course the boarding houses as well. So that's something, it's a work in progress, nothing set in stone, but certainly we've been reading over the intended effect. There's a few things that have popped up in there, in particular for boarding house owners, existing and possibly future.
Very, very interesting. And I've noticed, especially in the local government area of the inner west, there seems to be a lot of activity of this type. So how will the recent changes in the boarding house provisions in the state environmental planning policy benefit councils, industry and local communities, please?
Well, back in 2009 when the Affordable Housing SEP came out, which basically encouraged your mum and dad investors to go into this space, there was a lot of incentives to do it, including fantastic tax breaks and subsidies, rent subsidies. They basically spurred this on, and then particularly the Inner West Council itself, which has been traditionally been a very high demand area for this type of accommodation, continues to grow. I believe there's something along the lines of 400 development applications going on right now through the approval process. So with the issue of affordable housing, which is kind of where this space is, investors are playing the affordable housing space. That sort of entry-level accommodation is something that's in big demand, and so councils are pro development, especially in the affordable housing space, and that's really to deliver a product that's in high demand.
That's fantastic. I've heard of many local councils having some great initiatives for affordable housing, especially for those in the front line, like the police officers and other government services. So, John, thank you so much for sharing your insights today. It's very interesting how something that's been pretty much steadfast the last half a century is now getting a bit of a facelift. So what are the upcoming projects along with your property management work that Property Owners Association of Australia is keen upon?
Yeah, so we're working on a few projects at the moment. Probably the most prominent and major one is the taxational reform. So property tax reform is currently on the cards, as was announced by the New South Wales Treasurer at last year's state budget. So there is a once in a generational reform that's also up for discussion with stakeholders at the moment, and that's to do with potentially doing away with that entry burden of stamp duty. Stamp duty to be replaced by a broad-based land tax, if you like. So that's one of the projects we're addressing at the moment. There's also, of course, a 5-year review of the Boarding House Act itself, and that's to do with modernising and tweaking the 2012 boarding house tenancy legislation, just to, I guess, modernise it, bring it into line with current challenges of the day between landlords and tenants, and also a path forward which will segue, of course, into this diversity housing and planning changes as well. So they're the two things currently on the cards for us that we're working through with New South Wales Government.
Thank you so much, John. And property managers have been absolutely pivotal during the last 12 months when there have been moratoriums and other changes to rental agreements. So a very important space over the last 12 months. And that's all we have time for today. John, was there any final comments you'd like to share with our viewers before we wind up?
Look, it's we encourage housing diversity, and we encourage your viewers to definitely look into the space, especially with property investors looking for better and higher yields. This is certainly a space where they can achieve those sort of goals, but it is a very technical and specialised area of housing, and before they decide to jump into such a space, that they definitely want to consult with someone like the Property Owners Association or other consultants that are playing in this particular space before they go out and invest their hard-earned dollars into it. So that would be my advice for you this morning. Very quality and sound advice there. Thank you so much, John, for your time today. And viewers, if you've just joined us, we had an interesting discussion with the President of the Property Owners Association of New South Wales, Mr. John Gilmovich. And you can catch the whole interview at our YouTube channel, 𝐊𝐼𝐴 Media, sometime the next couple of days. And please stay watching 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV as we have more live market updates and expert talks coming up soon with the CEO of Lumos Diagnostics up next.
And as we say, stay apprised and invest wise.